Okay, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, everybody was good.
So, everything is fucked. I mean, not everything. You know what I'm saying. Shit's all fucked up, man. There's like some serious shit going on. And we recorded an episode that discussed our thoughts on what was going on. And I think it kind of got away from us, and we're going to take a little time to listen and check it out.
Yes.
But we wanted to just... The fuck am I trying to say?
Like you said, in these moments that are challenging for all of us, we felt it was necessary to steer off the path of strictly graph and discuss things that we can all relate to and try to keep it positive, but touch on some real shit right now. Though after finishing our session, we decided that perhaps we need to breathe and take a minute to fine tune before we release. So in the meantime, we decided that we wanted to give you guys something more uplifting and educational in the graph world that perhaps can take our focus off this dark shit for an hour or so and really enjoy this love we have for the graffiti culture.
That's what I was trying to say, kind of, in a way, where I came off.
It's all
came
good.
in hot.
No,
is what
it's
happened.
beautiful. No.
Anyway, so yeah. So we're gonna play the discussion we had with Roger Gastman. He was nice enough to let us come to his home and set up shop there and have a good conversation about a lot of the stuff that he's done. Mainly about just his frame of mind and the way he approaches things, and we were trying to pick his brain to give people an idea on how somebody like that just gets things done. If you're not familiar with him, just Google his name, Roger Gastman, and you will see a ton of shit.
Absolutely.
All right, with that, here we go. I was telling Cub how you and I met. Like, it was 93, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I met you a long time ago. A lot of what I do and who I've met is probably kind of your fault.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
If you think about it, a lot of it's probably indirectly your fault, or at least enough of it.
Yeah,
So if you're mad at me, be mad at Mike.
Yeah, it's all my fault. No, I remember when you came out to visit me, you stayed at my parents' house, and you stayed with me at my parents' house, and
That'd be weird if I only stayed at your parents' house.
Yeah. Like, hey, Mom, this guy's just going to be right here.
Yes.
But we went into Motor Yard, and I remember it distinctly. You were like, so this is the world-famous Motor Yard. So that must have been the first time you had ever been there, I'm assuming.
That was the first time I'd ever been there. I met you in we could say it's 93, we could say it's 94. I don't know. It was probably 93.
I feel like it was 93.
I think I met you on the East Coast somewhere on a Strife tour.
Yeah. I remember it because I remember I went outside and there was these dust tags all over the van. Like, just every window was covered in these clear, am I not supposed to say your name?
You can say my name.
Okay. These clear dust tags.
Nice.
And then I saw you catching a tag on a merch box, and I was like, hey, so that's you. What do you write? And we kind of started talking, and then the flick trading started.
I would have been 14 or 15.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I would go out with my friends' bands, mostly my friend Brian McTurnan, who was in Ashes and Battery, and then through him I continued to meet other people, and like, we're going to New Jersey this weekend, we're going to Philly, we're going to Connecticut tonight, and
Nice.
for some reason my mom would let me, and we would just go places and see shows. And I met a lot of people that way, and you were one of those people.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, it was a lot, like, I don't know, a lot of things unfolded from that, it seemed like. And I don't know, you can tell me to edit these details out, but
Oh, this is fine.
there was
It's all real.
You and I think we were talking on the phone, and you were like, I'm going to get some fat cap connector or whatever the wording was. And these are the details I can edit out if you don't want them in there. But you were like, I'm going to make a fake company and a fake logo, and I'm going to fax over like orders to this plastics company. Am I getting that right?
It's pretty right, yeah. It's right enough.
Yes.
And
It's better than I would say it.
And I was
Nice.
like, I remember thinking like, that's pretty impressive that you're going to do that. And then even before the internet, obviously we didn't know what the internet was at the time, but thinking back, like, how the fuck did you even know? Did you just go look in the phone book or something? Like, how did you find out?
I was tired of running around trying to find caps. They weren't easy to find where I was. I'm sure they weren't easy to find in LA.
Right.
And the few places you could buy them, they were expensive, or the people would never send them to you. And 15 years old, I was just fucking annoyed at that. At that point, I was trading photos with people. I think I had like a 1-800 pager number. Like, I was traveling a lot. So I was half attuned with how to go find things that you needed to find.
Yeah.
I don't know how I ended up at it, but there was some US phone book of businesses or manufacturers or something at the library in Bethesda, Maryland, where I lived, the library we'd have to go to for high school, whatever. And how the hell I realized there was that phone book, I'm sure someone told me there was that phone book. My mom told me there was that phone book. Who knows? And I just started looking up plastics companies and making phone calls. And I ended up with the company that I won't say where it is.
Yeah.
You know, that. So to do that as a teenager, okay, this is, to me, and obviously I don't know the ins and outs of your career, but like that says a huge amount for the way that you go about, at least to me as an outside perspective. It would appear that you have this take action kind of personality. Like you find a problem that you want to solve, and instead of going, I should do this, or I'm thinking about doing this, you just do it. And so you were 15 years old when you did that?
Yeah.
So,
by the time I was 16, I was selling caps all around the country.
Okay. So I know you've done these huge projects, books, film projects, Beyond the Streets, like these gigantic projects.
But so much of it you can relate back to a network I made when I was going to punk rock and hardcore shows, and people I met, people I traded photos with, people I went to visit. Those people then would help me distribute caps, help me find the local stores, all of that. So many of the things I can do, I can literally relate back to being a teenager and, how I met you. I mean, there's a couple people I met around the country around that time that, I have very different stories about everybody, but that are similar enough that I really can pinpoint enough moments. I met, I think, Saber for the first time when I was with you under a bridge. I remember you taking me to Gank at the time, GK's house, when he had just gotten, I think, off of another house arrest or something. He was screaming at some girl. I don't know.
Shit.
I remember a lot of things like that. It was the first time I met a lot of people. I'm 15 years old, meeting people that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years older than me, that a lot of them I'm still friends with today. And, helped me one way or the other. This person led to this person, led to this person. I never looked at it at the time as this is leading to this. It was just other people you're meeting and friends of friends. And I still look at it today in a sense of friends of friends. Well, I don't see a lot of people I'd like to see a lot. I think we all can say that as everyone's lives has changed. Definitely. I still definitely remember so many moments that helped get where we were. But yeah, I was always looking at things of, well, if we want to do that or we want to go there, fuck it. Let's figure out how to do that. Do we need to buy a plane ticket? Do we need to get on a bus? Do we need to ask someone who has a friend there? Like, does someone have, an aunt's house we can stay at? I don't know. It was just figure out what the hell to do and go get it done.
So that mentality that you have, was it always that way for you, even before that, when you were even younger? Was there an example for you in your house or on your block that you saw that kind of gave you that push?
That's a good question. I guess as far back as I can remember, if I wanted to do something or get a record or see a band, look something up, I would do my best just to try and figure out how the hell to do it, ask someone that was older than me, or look around and fail several times doing it myself.
Yes.
I never really waited around. I'm very impatient. I have a fairly addictive personality, I think, and just want to go get things done. I don't like sitting around very much. I usually try and do 2 or 3 things at the same time.
So, I mean, I find that just particularly impressive because not a lot of people have that. Like, there's a lot of people that talk about things they want to do. just to be able to do it. And then you also kind of touched on something that we wanted to talk about, which was how things lead to bigger projects. Because I think a lot of people, they get paralyzed when they think about a project they want to do, because they think about the end result and not so much like all the little steps. So you're saying all these networks that you've built and all this kind of stuff, it leads to the project. So is it too big of a thing to kind of track? Like, how do you get from being a graph writer? It is. I realize it's a huge thing, to how you go from being a graph writer to curating like one of the biggest shows.
It's almost like a whole semester in college, but overall it's not being afraid to fail and not being afraid to fail many times over. Ask lots of people questions. Ask people questions that are in other industries, because no matter what you're doing, people have similar and like problems. You need to figure out how to make something and then get the general public and your own audience to enjoy it.
That's right.
So if you can't figure that out, you're not going to get there. Ask questions of people all of the time. Remember what you're doing. Be friendly. Say thank you. Go out. Be supportive. Don't ask for everything for free. Great, you can get into your friend's concert for free. Buy a ticket. Be supportive, because when you have something, you're going to want them to be supportive. Of course, be generous. Give people things as you want to, and things will come back to you. But overall, the more supportive you are, usually, the better things come back to you.
Such a beautiful mentality, and I believe in that 100% as well, with everything we do. With what you just said, would you say that you've had like a perspective of not supporting those around you, but not relying and depending on other people to get where you want to go from a young age? Or did you always have like a small crew or a team that kind of stuck with you with that same drive?
I've always had an incredible support system around me. There's no way I would have been able to accomplish a majority of the things we've done by myself. So many of them are a team effort. While I've indirectly become the face or the name on a book, I've often been the driving force of them, or the person that's been able to figure out another job to go pay the bill, to pay everybody enough to go get it done at the same time, and been able to thankfully motivate people enough, rally people enough, and have enough eye on the end prize or the big picture to get it done. But none of these projects would be done if it was solely just me, without the support of many people donating their time, checking me when I'm wrong, checking me again when I think I'm right, and helping steer them in the right way. There's too many people to mention through the years, but they know who they are.
That's right.
So that was actually something I wanted to talk to you about, because the projects that you do are far greater than what one person can do. So are you naturally like a good team leader? Are you good at working with teams?
I don't think I'm that great at it, and I'm sure many people will complain that have worked for me that I didn't give enough direction on this, say thank you enough, or do this or that. But there's so many moving pieces. Things are unfolding in front of you in real time usually, and I always do my best. In the end, I never set out to be HR, and so much of what I've become in what I do is being HR. But overall, yeah, I think I can rally a good group of people and hire a good group of people and put a good group of people together, people that want to be friends with each other and enjoy each other's company outside of what they have to do. You know, when you're working with a group of people that clock in and clock out every day like clockwork and won't respond to you otherwise, and have no sense of community or hanging out with each other, they're probably not the right people for the job.
I struggle with teams a lot. I mean, humans are difficult to deal with. So,
yes,
it's
very much so.
But your point, like finding people that you vibe with, like that you could go hang out with, have a conversation with, it seems like that stuff is critical. And
one thing I have to remind myself all the time, no matter how successful a lot of the people I'm working with are at this point, or how successful they are in their life outside of the art world, but I'm reaching out to them for something they'd done in the art world years ago. 85% of those people built their career and their name on illegal activity. No matter how professional they might be, no matter how much property they might own, how many studio assistants they might have, what magazine, what collectors getting their work. They built their career around illegal activity and probably stealing a bunch of shit and scams up until probably their early 20s and maybe even later. And that mentality is always going to be somewhere in their back of their head. And I got to remind myself of that a lot. And so many of the times too, I'll have to catch myself because we'll just be sitting there talking about, a tag from 1986 that we just found a photo of or this or that. I'm like, shit, we were supposed to be doing this job or talking about this or that. But, we're in a sense romancing something that means so little to a majority of people.
So you mentioned something that as another thing that I wanted to ask you about, or we wanted to ask you about, which was not being afraid to fail. I've recently really gotten my head around the idea that failures are not actually failures. They're lesson opportunities. Is that kind of the way you look at failure? Do you always, I mean, you can't say always, but do you generally find that you learn from the failures, that they're sort of critical to your growth?
I've learned from a lot of my failures, not all of them, but they're 1,000% critical to my growth, the people on my team's growth, my friends' growth, because they probably have to hear me bitch about it and complain. And it's just more experiences you learn from. But so many of the things I do and most of the people that I talk to want to do, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it and it wouldn't be as enjoyable or fulfilling when the project actually happened. You got to keep going. I might have to try 30, 40 times to do X, Y, or Z to get it to work that one time.
Yeah. The non-negotiables just like lead the way to like all that, which you really want to pursue, at least for myself. I learned from everything, no question. Would you say that there's what I'm interested in is outside things that most people may not think about or ask in your daily routine from the moment you wake up till you lay your head down at night, things that you do to keep yourself empowered in a sense and keep yourself motivated besides that phone call or that email or like that deadline or whatever. It's something else that kind of keeps you, not hitting that wall in a sense and driven, like some kind of practice or some kind of, if you don't mind me asking.
I don't have any hobbies, I'll tell you that. Okay. I think about it a lot. I'm like, I should go get a hobby. My friends over there playing golf or doing this or doing that. The only thing I really do is I watch hockey. Nice. I follow the Washington Capitals, same team I followed since I was little. So I like it when it's hockey season. It's still hockey season right now. I go to concerts once in a while, but for the most part, pretty much every waking moment is driven by what I do. And my hobbies, what I like, and what I was obsessed with as a teenager, I'm so grateful that it's become what I do for a living. In a sense, sometimes I have to step back and be like, oh yeah, that's great. Wait, who was over for dinner last night? Or we're talking to this person or that person, or yeah, I have this over here. They gave me their collection, or we just archived it. We're working with so-and-so. I mean, they're things I would never have expected, and it's incredible, and I'm grateful. And so many people have trusted me with their stories, their personal effects. And it's turned into so much of my life. So many of my friends that I've known since I was teenagers, again, they've gone on to do so many things, but I still see them all the time. They come out, they're supportive. We see each other casually, but no, there's not like I wake up every morning and I go meditate for an hour and then go running. I should probably, I'd be a lot better, but I don't hit the snooze button. Of course, I'd like to sleep in here and there, but I usually wake up early as crap, between 4 and 6 in the morning, and I'm up. It's not like, oh, let me lay here for a few minutes. I mean, within 30 seconds, I could be on, a conference call. It just kind of is what it is. I've always been like that. I'll usually wake up for a few hours, do some things, beat the East Coast, talk to Europe while they're still there, then go back to sleep for an hour or two, then kind of get my day going. And half the time I'll then realize, oh shit, it's 3 o'clock. I haven't even taken a shower yet. Like I'm still sitting here on the computer. Like I need to get going. I need to go run some errands. I need to do some things for myself. Overall, I try and keep the environment around me as clean and neat as I can. I mean, of course I do live in piles and organized chaos here and there, but that's one of the things I've always learned is the neater I am and the neater people are around me, the more efficient things are and just the happier my day is. Yeah. I can't tell you the amount of people, studios and the lawyers to artists I've gone to, and shit's a mess and there's piles everywhere. They're very efficient and they need that chaos to work in. while I work well in chaos, I need it to be organized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hear that with a lot of successful people, that they love doing what they do, and that's what they would do anyway. So like, even if you weren't doing it for a living, you would probably do this kind of stuff, right?
I mean, I started writing on crap when I was 13, 14 years old. I got to become okay at it. I was never fantastic at it. I was never going to be as good as so many of my friends were, but that's okay. You know, I indirectly started helping them do bigger and better things, which was fantastic. And I was still enjoying it. I was still digging up the history. I was still writing on crap here and there when I wanted to. And I didn't say, I'm going to stop doing this and I quit. I just sort of phased out of actually the act of the vandalism and marking as much myself. And I started documenting it in the cities I could, writing about it, helping my friend when someone wanted to give him $500 for a t-shirt graphic and things like that. And it just seemed like it made so much more sense. And I would be able to help expand the culture and my knowledge of the culture and the education of the culture much better that way than going and writing on another 500 freight trains.
Yeah.
There was something we wanted to start with, that if somebody was in an elevator and they go, what do you do for a living? It's an overwhelming amount of shit that you do when you look at your website. So like, do you have that pitch, like a 5-sentence or?
I don't really have a quick pitch of what I do. I really do my best to read the room and see where I am to deliver the right information, because I do so many things. In the end, I'm a curator, artist manager, liaison, babysitter, cultural historian. Depends on what you need that day.
I think that might play into why and how you've gotten to what you've gotten in the first place, is having that mentality. Not only being in the moment and appreciating and supporting what you're doing, but how did I get into this room in the first place?
Exactly. Read the room, but respect how you got there.
Right.
You wanted to talk about movies. What were you going to say?
Obviously, there's like a progression to all that stuff, but do you have an interest in directing or cinematography, or did you just want to tell these stories, and that's how it led to doing film projects?
The first film project I did was in my early 20s, called Bedtime Stories. It was when we were doing Why You Were Sleeping magazine. It seemed like, well, we're making a magazine, we might as well make a video. And when I say make a video, I'm not talking about a DVD. We were actually making a VHS tape, for those of you that remember what those are. I got together with my friend Joseph Patisol, and he had a bunch of crazy tapes. I had a bunch of crazy tapes of things we just filmed being around, from exploding cars to driving through store windows to some tape trader we'd gotten tapes from of a guy jumping from tree to tree. And well, we knew enough about copyright rules. We honestly kind of didn't give a crap. It was the era of Big Brother magazine and reading about those things. Jackass wasn't out yet, but it was coming quick. And the more ridiculous and the crazier, why not? We could still get away with a lot of that. Social media hadn't ruined the fun yet. And we made a VHS tape, and it spread. We had all kinds of music in there we shouldn't, from Billy Idol to Britney Spears to you name it. Thank God we never got any cease and desist. And it was hilarious. It was fun. I didn't direct it. I didn't know what I was doing. In the end, I made it with my friend Joseph. I guess we both kind of directed it, but he knew what he was doing. He steered the ship, and he really gave me a lot of guidance that I've never really thought about, and how to put some crap like that together. But in the end, it's kind of like putting together a magazine or a book. You need a story. You need, to drive people in and keep them interested. Right around the time I moved to LA in 2004, I made a film called Infamy with Doug Prey. There was a guy, Kevin Lewis, that put the project together that I'm thankful for also. And working with Doug was the director, and the idea, I think, was to tell the story of 7 different graffiti writers. Maybe it was 8. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. And I went with Doug to all the shoots. I interviewed the people, and we learned things from each other. I learned how to make a documentary, and he learned about graffiti. And we've stayed friends to this day. One of the editors on the project, Lasse, I'm still close with. He's helped on so many of the other projects we've done. Did I want to go tell the story of Infamy? It was just a job in a sense, but in the end, I also got to go hang out with a whole bunch of my friends that are in it and capture a really important piece in time for so many of them in their careers, which I'm grateful for. But was at a film, I was like, I have to go make this. This is this. No, it's something that came up. But I really enjoyed how that storytelling process happened. And I realized there's more stories to tell, and just telling them in a magazine or a book is very flat, very one-dimensional, and you can only reach so many people, and it's so hard to tell the personality and get the other senses across. And we made a couple other documentaries that I helped direct, I helped produce. All the films we've worked on, I've done bits and pieces of everything. And it's been really enjoyable, and it's something I would like to continue doing, and there's a few projects we've been working on.
So is that a pretty common thread for the kind of business that you do, that it's not like, oh, I have to do this or I have to make this book? Does it, something sparks some kind of a little fire here and you're like, this would make a great movie? Or...
Absolutely. I just want to tell stories. I was working on the book, The History of American Graffiti, and we kept running into all of these really early New York and Philadelphia writers, late 60s, early 70s. I was like, these guys are still alive. They really haven't talked about a lot of this stuff, and some of them 35 years at that point. They were really hard to find. They might not want to talk to me again. They could die. They could disappear. I'm going to ask if they'll let me film them. I didn't film them with an idea of I'm going to go make this documentary. I filmed them of I need to preserve their story and get their mannerisms, their character, everything I can down. And of course, that turned into many years of my life, and a film and a book called Wall Riders, and a museum show that we did. One of the things I've learned, making a magazine, curating a show, there's a much more clear start and end date and payoffs throughout, or goals and deadlines you need to hit. And making a book usually, or making a film, it can go on and on and on. And you have to be prepared to say where that stopping point is. Of course, sometimes that stopping point is you need the book done for a show or an event. But in the end, you need to know when to stop and call it. Most people are never going to know those 68 things you wanted to put in there, or that you still wanted to dig up. And they're going to be happy with what is out there. And if they're not, let them go do something. There's so many projects I've done that I would love to see more happen. The Freight Train Graffiti book we did in the early 2000s, digging up that information was a pain in the butt, and that's fine. We loved doing it. I enjoyed doing it. We have such an incredible archive of those early freight pictures, great interviews with people, a lot of great voices, but there's more out there. I don't think we got the whole story. I think we got about 75% of the early freight story. I would love if someone went and did another freight book and really told a broader story that went on longer, but honestly, I don't have it in me. I started it. I did it. Here's an outline. Please, someone go do another one. Like, I'll support you. I'll write a forward if you ask me. I'll show up and, buy the book. I'll let you see my archives, etc. Like, right. I hope a lot of the films and book projects we do too also inspire people to explore their city and their histories more. I get a lot of emails and phone calls from people saying, hey, I want to do a book on my city's history, or I've been taking photos of murals in my city, what have you. And of course, most of these are smaller cities, and regional stories don't work very well on a national front. So I need to be honest with everyone so they don't ruin their life and spend their entire life savings trying to produce a book on New Hampshire graffiti or something like that. Well, I might buy it and 200 people in the town might buy it. There's just not a market for that stuff. I mean, right now, there's not a market for New York City graffiti books. There's not a market for LA graffiti books. There is a market, but the market is not what it used to be. And you just need to be aware and smart with how you produce projects now.
So I just want to touch on something you did say. You said a lot of good stuff right now. Back to social media ruining the fun, in a sense. Would you say that there's not a market for that largely because of what's available in people's pockets?
Absolutely. The market has been dried up because of what is available in people's pockets. Mm-hmm. And because of what's available in people's pockets, so many of the stores have gone away. That would then help support and carry these products. And so many of these stores then were gathering and meeting points for people to go to. And also, why are you going to buy a book in a store for $40 when you can go on Amazon and buy it delivered to your house for $24.99?
Right. And even going even further, we did a session about just that and where things have gone with social media. We tried to keep it as positive as possible and hit all these bullet points that were, just why it's a positive thing today. But I can't help but keep going back to why it's not, and not to go too deep into that. But we had that advantage, us three, even at a younger point in our lives, with a black book and a Sharpie and just sketching. And not having that flip, and all this influence in our faces and in our heads constantly. This overabundance of just visuals and information. What is your perspective and your take on what that is doing all around? Positive, negative, good, bad, ugly, whatever.
In the end, it's the direction of where the world's going, and it's not going to stop. Mm-hmm. It's positive. It's helped me get so much information out there, and it's also given me so much information that I probably wouldn't have found out about it literally, at the click of my fingers. I could sit here and sound like an old grumpy guy and bitch about it over and over again, but it's what's getting the projects out now. 10 years ago it was a blog. Before that I had to sit there and write letters. I'm sure in 10 years somebody's going to have something else that's going to help continue to get these projects and these stories out. But I'm also grateful that we've created experiences that you have to come to. And yes, they're usually spread by social media, and our best source of advertising and awareness of them is social media. But in the end, for years, we've created these great experiences that people come to and experience.
I like hearing that because, we do our best to put the positive spin on social media, but you can't really talk about social media without somebody saying, social media ruined graffiti. And it's like, how is graffiti ruined? I mean, it's just different.
Graffiti's everywhere still. Mm-hmm. LA is more lit up right now than in the last, 15 years probably. Driving around downtown, driving around Hollywood, going up and down Western. I mean, all over the place. There are kids doing illegal pieces on rooftops, huge silvers, tons of throw-ups that you never used to see in the city. There's a lot of people coming here and kids now just doing it. Maybe social media helps inspire them because they see what their friend did last night, or they see what their friend did 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. And I got a mixed opinion on that too. Like when I see that, it depends where I see it. Like, for example, around Beyond the Streets, when I saw it on those streets, I fucking loved it. It was beautiful. Just seeing all the extras everywhere that people were leaving, as they came and they were coming and going. But yeah, I don't know. And this is just my opinion. I see a lot of, we talked about this as well, a lot of people doing what they think people want to see and not so much what they want to do themselves because of the stage they're forced onto on social media so quickly. And again, I mean, I'm a clean freak. I like things a certain way. So that part of me that can be over the top, I'll see that also in the city. And I think things should be like this and not like this. That's my issue. But I do love how it's developed and how it's growing as well. I see what you mean by the city being lit up. But I also see the things being so burnt, so many things being burnt and not accessible and not this and not that. But on the other side of that coin.
But remember, it's not just graffiti. You could say, I can't go to any of these restaurants anymore because everyone's writing about it. Or, this shoe's now trendy and I can't go get it. So it's not just graffiti. It's everything.
It is.
I think in the end, if people edited themselves by 10 to 20% of what they're talking about, or thought 10 to 20% more about what they're writing, be a little better, a little more fun. But hey, it's there. It's not going anywhere.
Are there friends of yours from where you grew up that you still run with today? Or did you kind of catch your stride once you were coming back and forth?
I still have a lot of friends from when I was a teenager that I either went to high school with or lived in a different city that I met that I'm still close with, see casually, work with, you name it.
Yeah, I'm super bad about maintaining those kind of relationships.
It's hard.
Yeah, I'm really bad at it.
That's one thing I've learned as I've gotten older and continued to do events, small or big, is while they're often so fulfilling and grateful, it's just a couple people that almost always undoubtedly show up that are not respectful, that ruin everything. And nothing has changed that. But again, luckily, there's usually enough friends there and people looking out that kind of try and stop things. But the amount of times we even just saw people stealing shit in our gift shop this summer at Beyond the Streets that are people we invited to a special private event.
Jesus.
Like, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
They were stealing stuff from the invite only shows?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's ridiculous.
People, a lot of people will act like they've grown up and pretend they've grown up. And I'm not hating on people that are still out there stealing because that's a lifestyle here and there. But, respect your surroundings, especially if it's something from the community that you love.
Yeah, I've been having that problem at the studio, and I'm kind of tempted to, we're changing things up because the last event, it was just really messy. There was just tons of people drinking outside, and they were pissing on the neighbors' businesses, and they're tagging on the theater up the street. So the locals are coming down and saying, hey, your guests are tagging on the Warner Grand Theater. So I'm out there buffing the tags in the middle of the event, trying to keep the public from getting all pissed off because everybody knows me. I'm right there every day. So every day I walk by like 5 people that are like, hey, Mike, how you doing? And so these same
now
people...
it's like, fuck Mike, his friends wrote on that building.
Yeah, so like
Right.
I'm trying to maintain that standing in my community. And while I'm out there buffing tags, one of these same kids is out there just flexing on people. He's so drunk that he's hitting up like old people that are eating at the food trucks. Like, what you write? I was like, dude, this is a normal person. They're not a graph writer, So, do you have a way that you deal with the frustration? I mean, don't you get super annoyed by that kind of stuff?
Oh, we get annoyed all the time. And it definitely slows down and stops things I want to do. And when I think about certain projects I'm going to do, I kind of just have to stop myself. And it was 15, 20 years ago. I'd probably be like, oh, screw it. Let's do it. But at this point, I don't. I mean, we showed the Wall Riders film around the country in a lot of museums. It was fantastic. Everyone was very respectful of it everywhere we were. Except in New York City, we showed it at the SVA Theater. We paid out of pocket to rent it for way too much money. We sold tickets at barely a break even, sold some merch to get broken even, brought some artists in from out of town that were in the film that don't live there anymore, and then took them out afterwards. So it was a fairly costly thing to do. And mind you, no one paid us to make this movie. We made it because we want to. And I'm grateful we did. We did 2 screenings there, really great turnout. And at the second screening, a New York writer that I called out on stage, so I'll name him, I don't care, Hectad, who was always a whatever writer, and now he's a shitty street artist who showed up at Beyond the Streets this summer and decided to write in our bathroom there also. Wrote in the bathrooms at SVA, and we didn't get our security deposit back. I lost, I think, $7,500 that night showing that movie. And SVA will never have me back or any movies of this culture, which is a shame. School of Visual Arts in New York won't show anything to do with this because one guy in his late 40s or early 50s needed to show off to his friends.
Right.
I can't tell you the amount of true vandals that were in that room that are still so active in New York that were so happy to be there and thankful that they weren't in some shitty basement somewhere and that a place like this would have us and that this film was made and they were around people that, were their parents' age that, helped start this culture. Yeah. And that's what happened. It sucked. Things like that happen a lot. And I really have to think about it and really worry overly. I mean, in New York this summer at Beyond the Streets, of course, graffiti is going to happen in the bathrooms. We deal with it. We pay attention about it in our security deposit. Any place we're going to do an event, we're going to put out whatever it is. It's, do I want to embed my life in this for the next several years? And how much are these few folks, when they get drunk and want to act out in front of their friends or just want to be a hero again, or the star quarterback again, or the 15-year-old kid that I'm so happy they're still out there writing on shit because no one gives a fuck. So when they show up, are we going to be able to survive them is a question. Can we constantly keep surviving the community, how can we at the same time respect the community? Because if we're not respecting the community, we're fucked and we shouldn't be doing it. And at the same time, on top of that, reach a whole new audience to educate them on the community. So it's juggling those three things.
Well said. And I wanted to circle back to what I had said about Beyond the Streets. And there's a few writers that I noticed outside of that area that had done a few things that was like, oh, that was fresh to see that they were here. And then they did a little something. But I immediately thought about who was holding down the show and how it was going to affect if they ever came back and how the people in that neighborhood were going to react. So, Wick, where's that balance between, fuck, I love seeing this city lit up, but not here, not now, not because, you know what I'm saying, and how it's going to affect us.
Thankfully, the show in New York, of course, there were some stickers that went up and a few things here and there, but for the most part, it was a totally different type of neighborhood, and it was respected. And there were so many, again, crazy vandals that came through there, a lot that we invited, and they were just happy where they were. And, you know, a block away, there were a few walls that were trashed and constantly trashed well before we got there. And those things kept getting lit up, but our building and a few of the nice surrounding areas around us stayed safe. In LA, there was a lot of graffiti all over that place anyway, where the show was. So it wasn't a surprise to me when it got lit up.
So it wasn't as much of a punch towards you afterwards?
No, not at all.
Cool.
Both the Los Angeles and the New York Beyond the Street show ended up great. No problems with the artists that came through, you name it. And, you know, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say I promote and educate and tell the history of graffiti and get pissed off when someone shows up to a graffiti thing we do and writes on it. Like, I get it. That happens. Graffiti is illegal. That's what I like seeing. It's just respecting your community and respecting people doing things in your community. And if some 16-year-old kid writes on something that doesn't know any better, cool, I get it. When it's someone that's my peer that does know better, that is just trying to show off, I get pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of wrestling on what the answer is because...
Straight jackets.
Yeah.
Mandatory straight jackets at entry.
Like what I was saying, one of my guests leaves and catches a fat cap tag on their building.
And then pees.
And then pees on their building.
Scribes their glass.
That actually...
Whatever.
Yeah, there was an event we had, and the neighbors next door, they came over and they were super uncomfortable. They're like, we don't know how to tell you this, but like one of your guests peed on our front door. And I was like, oh, shit.
You laugh, but you're so annoyed at the same time.
Yeah,
and then you're scrubbing pee later.
I was like, I got you. I got the bucket, the mop. I even had some spray for the dog pee because I have a bunch of dogs. So I'm like, I'll get this real nice. So I'm out there, you know. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know. It's like I'm kind of where you're at when you say, you know, you have this idea of a project you want to do, but then you start thinking about all that stuff. And then you don't really want to do it.
I look at it sometimes too of how can I just make this smarter? Not, oh no, stop, don't do it. Sure, sometimes it's stop to do it. Because in reality, you can only do something, you know, come up with 20 ideas, pick 3 or 4 to try and go with. But how can you make it smarter? And how can you figure out how to get around all of those issues? And if the people you're going to include in that project can help you come up with those solutions, maybe you should think of a different project.
That's a good call. I mean, maybe it's like part of the responsibility if everybody that's involved in the project is taking ownership, and then that way it's not just me going like, how am I going to solve this problem? So if I'm putting a show together, maybe part of it is like, hey, if you want to be in this show, you need to help me figure this shit out. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. Maybe? And think about great projects, great documentaries, community grassroots galleries, event spaces, you name it. Through the years, if the community and the people going to it and the artists participating don't respect the space and help the space grow, the spaces go away.
Yeah, exactly. And that's...
The spaces feel burned out, taken advantage of, and they're gone.
Yeah.
The spaces that stick around are the spaces that, of course, some wild shit's going to happen at, but for the most part, the people that you're promoting are thankful you're promoting them. They're going to promote you, and they're going to help you take care of problems. And that's what we've had so many times with things we've done. And it's great. If it weren't for the community of people we're working with and telling their stories, being so happy and helping make sure things go right, or putting us onto this person or that person, or warning us about something, or just doing something awesome, or, showing up with, a pizza or some flowers. I mean,
Yeah.
It's great. It's mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing there's going to be a couple oddballs that piss you off, but, the mutual respect and, hey, you're going to give me this wall space? Cool. Can I come by and help you set up? Like, what do you need? Like,
yeah, I haven't been having the best luck with that. I guess I could try harder.
Try
Find
harder.
those people. Yeah.
Try harder. Or take a break for a little while and do you. Go see your family, Mike.
I will go see my family. You're making a good point.
Yeah, take a break from the people pissing on your neighbor's door. Go see your family. Get recharged. Come up with a new plan.
It's a win-win. Yeah. I like that.
You're making a lot of sense here.
I'm sorry.
It's perfect. I don't really have anything else.
Okay, what's this called? I don't even know what it's called.
It's called the Graffiti Machine Podcast.
Okay.
Yes,
It's
sir.
on iTunes, it's on Stitcher, Spotify. We got a website, graffitimachine.com.
You'll send it all to me
Yeah.
because I'm really bad at that stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'll send it.
But you can send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you as soon as we
Then
leave.
we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Sure.
Hell yeah, man.
It means a lot
Happy
to
to
us.
do it. Again, Mike, you really are responsible for a lot of this stuff.
I appreciate that, man, because
So thank you.
no, thank you, because I mean, honestly, watching you do all this stuff throughout the years, like it's been very impressive, and I find myself talking about this stuff.
I'm still here. Anything you want to see? I mean, it sounds like we both suck reaching out and doing things, but we're not that far away from each other.
Yeah.
I'm not even here that much, but if there's something you want, I have a question I can answer, or you want to come to something and I forgot because I'm an asshole, say so.
I will. I definitely will. I appreciate you saying that, though, man. I have really
real.
good memories of that stuff, for sure. Cool. All right.
Thank you.
Well, Roger Gastman, you're the man. We
Yes, sir.
appreciate you doing this.
Of course.
And congratulations on all the cool stuff you're doing. It's really very impressive.
Thank you, Graffiti
Absolutely.
Machine.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, then.
Stay up.
Later.